Cassey Chambers is Operations Director for the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, SADAG, and she joins us now for more on this topic. And today is the World Mental Health Awareness Day. How important is it to create awareness for mental health?
It's so crucial in South Africa. If you ask us, every day should be World Mental Health Day, because we need more opportunities to talk of how mental health impacts all of us. If we look at just the number of South Africans who are impacted by mental health, mental illness affects 1 in 3 South Africans. That's a lot of us. That's someone in every household. It's someone within every work department, within your friends group or circle. So it affects so much more people, and yet we're still too afraid to talk about what it is, what it isn't, how to get help. And I think this is why a day like World Mental Health Day helps to start a conversation. It makes it top of mind and makes us remember how important it is to talk about this, because there can also be some serious consequences by not getting help for mental health and not normalizing that it's okay not to be okay, but that there is help.
I picked up another interesting statistic. I always get my battle to say that word. I picked up an interesting statistic in that package there, where they spoke about 9 out of 10 people do not have access to professional help.
It is. It's such a big treatment gap in South Africa. Only 1 in 10 people who have a mental illness have access to treatment or care, which means 9. And I think in South Africa, that stat is not good enough for so many people who suffer in silence, who don't know where to go or who to speak to, or can they go to a clinic, and do they go to a doctor or a psychologist? And I think what happens is that so many people are too afraid to seek help. They're too afraid to open up and say, I'm not okay. They're also worried about what society will think of them. Are they less than? Are they weak? Are they vulnerable? And I think that prevents people from getting a lot of help and not knowing where to go. And I think when we look at the consequence of suicide, where we know that the leading cause for suicide is undiagnosed or untreated depression, if we leave mental health issues left untreated, unsupported, it can lead to more serious things such as suicide. And again, we have very alarming rates of suicide in South Africa. It's estimated there are 23 suicides per day. So these stats are scary. They are alarming. We have to do better as a country in better providing support and services to people with mental health issues. We also have to remember that it's a human right to have access to mental health care. And we have to be looking at closing that treatment gap to help so many more South Africans who are suffering in silence and don't have to.
Now, there's also a stigma around people taking medication for mental health problems like depression or anxiety. Why is this still the case?
I think there's such a shame to have to admit that I need something every day to help me with something like my emotions or feelings. And I think this is where we have to create a lot of awareness and educate people that having depression or anxiety is like having any other real illness that needs real treatment. And just as we understand that if you have diabetes or if you have a heart condition, it affects certain parts of our bodies and it affects the way that our bodies function. The same thing with depression and anxiety. Just because we can't see it or touch it or do a blood test to say, yes, you have depression, it still affects the most important organ in our bodies, our brains. And therefore, it needs that treatment often, as in medication from a GP or a psychiatrist, to help you with some of those physical symptoms. But I think it's also important in this opportunity to really debunk what treatment looks like, because it can be different for different people. It could be medication, but it could also be therapy or counseling. So normalizing that treatment is all encompassing, all holistic, is really critical. And learning as much as you can about what depression is and self-help tips and building that support. SADAG has over 200 free support groups. And I think it's just normalizing and debunking what treatment is and what it can look like, and that it's not necessarily just about taking a tablet or taking medication, but it's really having to look after your body and getting that treatment and care that you need.
How is gambling affecting the mental health of South Africans? Wherever you go, it doesn't matter if you're driving up the road just to get some milk, you'll hear an advert for gambling. If you're driving into Sandton, there are billboards for gambling. You're watching a sporting match, it's sponsored by a gambling company. It is wherever you go, and lives are being destroyed by gambling. Is this a big problem that you are having to address or help people with at SADAG?
We do. We see it on a daily basis. You know, gambling comes with so many other social determinants as well when we're looking at gambling and alcohol abuse and substance abuse that could also then lead to financial problems, relationship issues. And I think none of these happen in isolation. They're all comorbid and all affect each other. And it can destroy families. It can destroy livelihoods. And we have often people who have become addicted to gambling, who are in a lot of trouble with gambling, who are feeling very depressed and anxious. We have a lot of loved ones also calling in, worried about their loved one who is gambling, don't know how to help them or what to do or where to go. And I think when we think about some of these key issues that so many people are dealing with, definitely gambling is something that we're seeing on the rise and affecting a lot more people, as well as substance abuse, which is a big concern for us, is that we see it advertised, we see it so openly, we hear about reports in our schools. And I think it's just showing that these kinds of social ills really have an impact on society, but also on our mental health.
Cassey, what message can you give to our viewers this evening? Those of them who are suffering in silence, who perhaps have depression or anxiety or any other mental health issue, what message can you give them tonight?
I think today for World Mental Health Day, but every day should be World Mental Health Day, because we know that depression doesn't discriminate, can affect anyone, anywhere, anyhow. And I think for anyone who's ever felt alone and helpless, and it feels like there's no one else that would understand, it's really to encourage them that it's okay not to be okay, but that there really is help. And we really want them to reach out to SADAG or to someone and get that help. They don't have to suffer in silence. If we see so many people who do reach out, who get the care and support, who join a support group, they lead very happy, successful, fulfilled lives. And I think so many people deserve that. So today and every day is we can all just do one thing that looks after our mental health.
Thank you so much, Cassey Chambers from the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. And just a message to you from Cassey, reach out. If you're not okay, it's okay not to be okay, but reach out.